Welcome to the second edition of the Pre-Lock Show over here on Sal Vetri's channel. It's your boy Lock of the Night, MMA LOTN on Twitter as well too. I'm joined by probably one of the best DFS guys out there, and he was on a very short list of guys that I want to get on the show when I started doing it. And I brought the big guns, right? We got my guy DFS by the numbers, Brady. What's going on, dude?
What's up, Locke? Thanks for having me on. Sal, thanks for having me on. And yeah, what not a better card to be on than this 15 fight card, easily card of the year, stacked from top to bottom. I have no complaints about any fight on this card. Like usually there's one fight where I'm like, I don't care about it. But no, every single fight I'm going to be sitting there watching it. 15 fights. Let's get into it.
Yeah, dude, you're being a little bit generous. Let's be honest. There's a couple fights on the bottom of the card that you're like, I wouldn't mind, if we get a fight day cancellation, I wouldn't be super mad if we, lost maybe Lavinia Souza against Amanda Lemos or something like that.
That's the only one, yeah.
Yeah, but we're true diehards when it comes to this stuff, and pretty much giving credence to every single fight on the card. So. Yeah, I'm very excited to talk to you about it. Me and you have been talking back and forth for a long time about doing something together, and I couldn't think of a better way to do it, especially for such a big card like this. But yeah, I'm glad that we're mixing it up here and getting this thing on the road. I know you've been busy today too with a bunch of content creation of your own on your channel. Are you planning on doing anything after the lock as well, or are you just sitting back and enjoying the fights?
I'm going to sit back and enjoy the fights, man. I was up till 9 o'clock in the morning this morning, finishing up everything, getting all my lineups done. So I'm, here off of like 4 hours of sleep, but I'm a diehard MMA fan, content creator. So it's what you got to do.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I was up till 4 a.m., but not for the same reasons. Are you a mass lineup guy? That's one thing that I'd like to get out of the way right off the bat, right? What's your style when it comes to DFS? Because Brett Apley, he seemed to be a guy that was more like 10 to 20 lineups. What's your approach when you're targeting these UFC events?
Yeah, I'm the 150 max. I'm the 20 max as well. But yeah, 150 max is probably my go-to. I like really spreading out the exposure, and on the 15 fight card like this, it's really hard to spread it out completely. But I did take some stances. I did do some fades. I'm going to be talking about that. But for me, mostly the 150 max.
Nice. Yeah, I'm more on the Brett Apley side, right? I don't think I have the patience and the abilities that a guy like DFS by the numbers has in terms of putting together like 150 lineups and all that stuff. I like my couple shots here and there in the tournaments, and then I like the head-to-heads as well. I feel like that's where I make the most amount of my money from DraftKings to begin with. All right. So pretty much what we're going to be doing for this stream right now is we're going to run through the card from top to or bottom to top right off the bat, skimming, giving our thoughts about each one very briefly, and then we want to make most of this stream about you guys in the chat. If you are in the chat already, make sure you guys hit that like and subscribe below for my guy Sal Vetri. Show us some love. Obviously, you can follow me at MMA LOTN on all my platforms, at DFS_numbers on Brady's platforms. I believe that's Twitter, and on the YouTube on YouTube, it's DFS by the numbers. If you're watching me, you probably already know about my guy DFS by the numbers, so it's all good. All right, let's get into the card from bottom to top, like I was saying. So we got the first fight of the night, Mario Bautista versus Trevin Jones. I'll let you kick this one off. Just give us your quick, brief thoughts regarding this one.
So I like Bautista here. I don't know if I love the $9,100 price tag just because of how durable Jones is. In 18 fights, he's never been knocked out. But yeah, I like Bautista to get it done just based off of more volume. We saw how hittable Jones was in that last fight. He was able to get that knockout on Valiv, but I kind of leaning towards it was more of a fluke. But as far as DraftKings goes, there's so many great plays up in this 9K range. I don't think I'm going to get there with Bautista. Honestly, like Bautista more as like a parlay piece. I think he's very safe to win. But I just don't see him scoring all that well, finding it on the optimal lineup, unless he does get like an early finish, and I'm leaning towards this going to decision, or at least like a late finish for Bautista. So for me, if anything, I think Jones at 7,100, you're getting a $2,000 price savings. If he does win, it's going to be by a finish. He's not going to win a decision. So if he wins, it's going to be by finish. So I do have some Jones, but outside of that, don't really have much Bautista.
Yeah, I'm of the belief that we might actually see a Bautista sub here, which is I don't mind having him on a couple of my lineups. But I do agree with your assessments here that it most likely will go to a decision with Bautista, pretty much just outlanding him at range. And I don't think we see many takedowns coming from him. I think he won't be racking up much of a control time or anything. So I think we're going to have to just lean on him just off of strikes and significant strikes and total strikes. And I'm not sure if that's going to be enough to, like you said, land in the optimal. And you are right. I don't think people are giving enough spots or enough credit here to Trevin Jones DraftKings wise, because if he does win, that's going to come via finish, and at 7,100 you're getting a good price tag on a finish here. All right, let's move on to the next one. We got Uros Medic versus Alan Cruz. I'll kick this one off real quick. I think Alan Cruz is getting a ton of disrespect here. Uros Medic looks decent on tape, but man, like the guy just finding absolute cans up there in Alaska. Even the guy that he fought on the Contender Series seems like he could have even been a champ over there in Alaska FC, but he didn't really bring it to our guy Medic. Whereas I believe like Alan Cruz will give him a stiffer test, and this is the first time we'll see him truly tested. So, but in terms of a DraftKings perspective, I think the way that Alan Cruz wins this fight is by decision. Now, most people are just going to say that Medic might just have a huge cardio dump after round 1 or halfway through round 2 because we've never seen him in those second and third rounds. But let's give him the benefit of the doubt. It's just his opponents that aren't able to go that far, so we don't truly see him tested in those deeper waters. But you got to believe with the amount of time that he's spending down there at Kings MMA, the guy's rounding out his game fully, and I think we'll see a good version of him. But I think that there's just a little bit too much disrespect on Cruz. So from a betting perspective, I like Cruz as a bit of a dog here. But in terms of DraftKings, if he wins, I think it's going to come via decision. I don't see a crazy upside for him via finish unless the gas tank of Medic is absolutely dog shit. How are you seeing this one?
Yeah, so this is one of my more, favorite fights to target on the card, is because Medic, he's never been to the third round. He's never been to decision. He's been to the second round once, and that fight lasted like 30 seconds in the second round. So, like you said, Alaskan fight scene, very sketchy there. What happens if this does go to the second round? What happens if it does go to the third? We just don't know. So there's so many question marks. So if Medic wins, I'm more so leaning towards it's going to be an early finish. Yeah. He has, I think, 5 out of 6 wins in the first round. And we saw Alan Cruz just get knocked out in the first round against Spike Carlisle, and he's been finishing all 3 of his losses. So I like Medic quite a bit at 8,900. But on the flip side, I 100% agree with you. I think Alan Cruz is getting extremely disrespected. And I think there is probably some recency bias because he did get finished by Spike Carlisle like that. So I think that, watching tape, and I'm sure you caught on this as well, on the regional scene, like Medic was getting taken down by some bottom of the barrel guys. So I was
easy peasy.
Yeah, like what happens if Cruz comes out here with the game plan of possibly getting takedowns? I mean, we saw him try to take down Spike Carlisle, it didn't work out. But what happens if Alan Cruz takes him down, grinds him out, gets into that second round? What is Medic gas tank like? So actually, I like both fighters here from a DraftKings standpoint. I'm kind of split on my exposure. I have a little bit more Medic, but I think Cruz is a very good dog at 7,300.
I'm right there with you. And for everybody asking questions in the chat right now, we're just going to skim through the card real quick, and then we'll get to the questions and throw them in here and there. But I see some good questions so far. Just stick around. We'll definitely get to those questions for sure. All right, let's get to the next one here. We got Amanda Lemos versus Lavinia Souza. I'm seeing conflicting sides here regarding who's going to have the cardio advantage. For me, I think that Lemos is going to have the cardio advantage. And, she didn't look great in her fight against Leslie Smith. Obviously, that was up at 135. She takes a bunch of time off, comes back at 115. Doesn't look the greatest on the scales when she's weighing in at 115 pounds, but her performances are not that bad, right? She goes out there, submits Miranda Granger pretty quick, deals with the pressure and just the clinch work of Inoue for 15 minutes. And every time they were split and that distance, we saw her land big, heavy shots. Whereas Lavinia Souza, I've seen her gas in the last round. I've seen her pull guard in a close fight in that third round when you don't want to be doing that, right? I've seen her slow down against Ashley Yoder and getting picked apart by Ashley Yoder in the third round. And that's not something that Yoder's pretty good at, given that she's more so of a grappler and a clinch worker. But, if she had learned how to use her reach properly, maybe she would be much better. But I think that was a further indication of Souza's lack of cardio. So I do like Lemos here. I think we'll see most of her points coming from the strikes, so I'm not sure how much she'll actually pursue the takedowns. I don't know if she wants to mess with the black belt with Souza on the ground. But the later this fight goes, I think we're liver for a finish for Lemos in round 3. I think she could touch up Souza and possibly put her away. But if it doesn't transpire and you get a decision victory, you're just leaning on somebody that's mainly a striker, and I'm not sure how that's going to score so much on DFS. From a betting perspective, I like the inside the distance on her and that possible round 3 prop, which is what I dropped on the Propping You Up show on Thursday. But from DFS, it's a weird approach. How are you seeing this one?
Yeah, so I'm not going to touch Souza on DraftKings. I mean, she's not going to – you'd think you wouldn't submit Lemos. She's very low volume. She's slow. I think Lemos is going to be the better striker, and the better striker by a decent margin. I mean, Lemos is going to be throwing, probably 3 times the output of Souza. And I do think she's going to have the volume advantage. I do think it could rack up. But it's up to, is she going to get takedowns? I think if she goes out here and gets takedowns, gets some top control, which I do think is possible, it could score decent. But it comes down to ownership for me. I think Lemos is going to be one of the lower owned plays on the slate, and for that reason, I do have some. But I'm not expecting something crazy. But if she's going to be like 10-15% owned, maybe I'll put like 20% ownership on a Lemos there. But as far as Souza, it's just so hard to get their price tag or not. So I'm going to take Lemos. I like her more as probably a bet, but I think for that low ownership, I do think she has some upside. And like you mentioned, maybe a late finish, which would be pretty huge.
Yeah, 8,700 is not too bad for a woman that potentially has that finish in her as well. Shout out to our guy Sal Vetri dropping by and showing us some love. Appreciate Sal as always, and the fellas that are in the chat. Let's keep things moving along though. Next up we got Sean Brady versus Jake Matthews. I'll kick this one off. I love me some Sean Brady. He's my lock of the night play, but in terms of a DraftKings perspective, I'm not 100% sure if he's going to be giving us those crazy numbers. How does he approach this? Is he going to go out there and try to grapple fuck Jake Matthews? I think he has the advantage there. I think if he wants to go out there and outstrike Jake Matthews, he has the advantage there. I think he has finishing potential when it comes to possibly getting the submission here. Like we've seen Jake Matthews get wrapped up in subs before, and I feel like this is one of the higher level submission artists that he's going to go up against. And that guillotine is a nasty guillotine for my guy Sean Brady. And if he gets caught up in one of those, then one thing that we know Jake Matthews does, like one of the things that he reverts to, especially when he starts sucking wind, is that wrestling. So maybe a sloppy takedown could, throw himself right into a guillotine. I think that's a possibility. But I like Brady here. I think, he takes this fight. I like the submission prop as well. I think the most realistic outcome, though, is him just grinding this fight out, winning via decision, probably just outstriking him. I do like him. What is he at? 8,300, I believe. 9,300, sorry. I think there's better spots in this 9,000 range in terms of guys that will probably be more likely for a finish and can get you some better numbers there. How are you seeing this one?
Yeah, for me, same thing. I think that he's a good play. I think he's a safe play. I think he wins. I think he scores well. But is he going to score well more than like an Amanda Nunes, more than like a Makhachev? So it's just, for me personally, it's really hard to get there. I don't think he's the worst play in the world. But I do think the most likely scenario is he going out there and winning a decision against Jake Matthews. So the sub could be there. Matthews has been sub twice. We've seen it before. But I'm more so leaning towards that decision. At that point, I think he could get some takedowns, some volume, but I just don't see it. I see it scoring well, just not like 100 plus points there. As far as Matthews, probably not. I mean, low volume, not the best cardio. Even at 6,900, even if he does win, he's not going to get a finish. So, really, for me, I have like no exposure on this fight.
Yeah, I see it very difficult for Jake Matthews to pull off the victory here. I see like every single advantage that he could possibly have over his past opponents. Sean Brady has him covered in that aspect too. So there's the only thing that you can say Matthews has an advantage here is the UFC experience. And I feel like through that UFC experience, we've seen what his peak is potentially going to be. And I think that, Sean Brady will definitely have him beat in that aspect. All right, let's move on to the next one. We got Carlos Ulberg at 9,000, 7,200 on Kennedy and Nzechukwu. This is another one of those kind of like Uroš Medic fights where you're like, there's so many question marks on the guy who's the big favorite here at the $9,000 price tag. And yeah, he has that style, that kickboxing style that can produce a knockout here, especially against a guy like Kennedy and Nzechukwu, who I believe is still very green. But he's been off for a year and a half. He's with Saif Saud. What kind of game plan is he going to come up with? And is he going to be able to stop that kickboxing approach of Ulberg? With Ulberg in the past, we haven't seen his opponents truly challenge him, push him, or anything like that. Like the only guy that I believe had even an ounce of success was his Contender Series fight against Bruno Oliveira. But then we see him, pushing the pace a little bit, but getting a little bit too lazy and eventually getting knocked out here. And if Kennedy does that, I think he could get knocked out too. But I don't think it's a foregone conclusion that Ulberg gets this win, and I don't think it's a foregone conclusion that he gets the finish either. We've seen him play it very safe in the past in his second fight, where he just stays on the outside and just picks apart his opponent. I'm not sure what kind of approach we'll see from him here. It all depends on how Kennedy approaches this fight. If he's too wild and he's too reckless in closing the distance, he's going to get knocked the fuck out. Let's be honest. But if he plays it safe and uses his distance striking, which is what he's been doing for the majority of his fights, he's going to get picked apart from the outside, and we get an Ulberg decision. Are we going to get an Ulberg takedown here? I don't think so. So I think that if you're banking on Ulberg, you're hoping that he gets that knockout, what I think he's live for. But if this turns into a 15-minute staring contest, you're going to be like, fuck, why do I have 9K on a guy that only has 3 fights and we don't know anything else about him? How do you feel about this one?
Yeah, I'm definitely the same way here. I mean, it's more of a fade on the Kennedy side for me. I will be probably looking to fade Ulberg in the future with somebody that's probably going to try to take him down. It's just we haven't seen that from Kennedy. So if it's going to be a 15-minute kickboxing fight, you got to favor Ulberg there. So I do think he wins. I like him to win. 9,000. It's just hard to get there. I mean, he's so low volume himself. Both guys are low volume. If he does not get that first round finish, he probably busts. Is the first round finish likely? I'm leaning towards no. So I do have a little bit of Ulberg because I do think he's probably the much better fighter on the feet. But I have like 10-15% Kennedy as well because he's so cheap and it is light heavyweight. He's somewhat hard, and maybe he can go out there and beat this 3-0 guy. I mean, that dude has 3 MMA fights, so I think it's worth a shot at 7,200. I have a little bit.
Yeah, it's very tough to fully trust a guy like this. Like I had people to hit me up and be like, "Yo, lock of the night on what's his face on Carlos Ulberg." I'm like, "Ugh, well, we don't have too much data out there, man. We gotta think macro, not micro." And the guy's been looking good micro version, but how does he look against guys that have been in the UFC for a little bit and may have more to bring to the table than his past opponents? All right, let's move on to the next one. We got Tim Elliott versus Jordan Espinoza. This one is the tougher one for me to kind of get a read on. We got 8,200 on Elliott, 8,000 on Jordan Espinoza. I'd lean Elliott here. I think that he's even live for a submission as well. One stat that I throw out there throughout this week is he's attempted 14 submissions in his UFC career. So he's always chasing that choke. And I think that Espinoza, if he gets a little bit desperate here, he might go shoot for a submission, might find himself in the choke as well. But then that Tim Elliott pace, that pressure, maybe lands a couple takedowns as well too. I think Elliott could be a sneakier play in this mid-range, but I'm not the most confident in it either. How are you seeing this one?
I mean, Elliott's one of my highest owned fighters, honestly.
Okay.
It's just the pace of the guy, the takedowns. Yeah. He's averaging 4 takedowns per 15 minutes, 48% takedown accuracy. And Espinoza does have that 90% takedown defense. But if you look into it, he did stuff quite a bit of takedowns on some contender series guys. He stuffed a lot of takedowns from Mark De La Rosa, somebody that has like a wrestling 30% takedown accuracy. But, Tim Elliott's a legit wrestler, training with James Krause. I think he can get down Espinoza. And if he does get down Espinoza, we've seen Espinoza submitted twice in the UFC. He's been submitted 4 times in his career. I'm with you. I think the sub's live, and especially with this new DraftKings scoring system, I think it favors a guy like Elliott, somebody that's going to go out there and get takedowns. So it seems like, on DraftKings, like Elliott fights, they score well, whether he's winning the fight or losing the fight, they always score well. I remember he had the performance against Luis Smolka where he put up like 170, something like that. So I don't see it like 170, but I can see a possible submission, lots of takedowns. So I do like Elliott. On the flip side, I don't hate Espinoza. It's going to be a fast-paced fight. Elliott's extremely hittable. So, but I'm really high on Elliott here.
All right. I'm glad that you have more confidence than I do have in this spot. But yeah, you are right with Elliott. He's very high pace, high pressure, a couple takedowns, not to mention 3 of them against Askar Askarov, who, solid wrestler himself too. So he has that nice little hip toss. And if he's able to implement it here against Jordan Espinoza, he can possibly find a submission a little bit easier here. All right, let's move on to the next one. We got Rogerio Bontorin against Kai Kara-France. I'm leaning Kara-France here, but I don't feel like he's that high-level scorer here in the DraftKings realm either, right? He's 8,500, 7,700 on Bontorin. Again, mainly a striker, has some power in his hands, but we haven't seen him really knock anybody out in a long time now. But I feel like his striking alone should help him get the W here. In terms of output, I'm not sure how much we'll get from him scoring-wise. Bontorin, on the other hand, I feel like he really needs to get this fight to the ground to really implement his game. Otherwise, he's going to be outstruck by the faster, crisper striker in Kai Kara-France. But from a DraftKings perspective, I'm not sure how much of Kai I'll actually have here. Again, mainly a striker. We don't really see takedowns or a full MMA game from this guy. So I feel like this newer scoring system, like you're saying, probably doesn't favor a guy like Kai. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I'm with you. I have like 0% Kai Kara-France. Like outside of a first round knockout, I don't really see him hitting value here. And he's somebody that I don't think he has a knockout in the UFC. So, I mean, it's possible, but Bontorin, he's never been knocked out. Very tough guy. More so if I'm going to play this fight, it's going to be on the Bontorin side, because like you said, if he wins, it's going to be because of those takedowns. There's going to be some control time, possible submission. I mean, France has been submitted like 2 or 3 times. So for me, it's Bontorin on DraftKings. As far as a straight pick, I like France, but Bontorin's not the worst play in the world just because of that takedown upside, control time upside.
For sure. I like that as well. Just before we get into the next fight here, I do just want to give a quick shout out to our sponsors, Super Draft. If you guys use the code SAL, you guys get a free money bonus all the way up to $500. I believe that's in a slow drip format as well too. But the big thing about Super Draft, they're not as well known as the DraftKings or the FanDuels. So you're definitely getting these pools that don't fill up, yet they still put the pools on. So you're beating almost 100, 200 spots that are just big fat zeros because nobody's entering these contests. So today, I believe it's one of their biggest ones. They're giving $5,000 to first place. So if you guys want to go sign up to Super Draft, the link should be in the description below as well to use the promo code SAL, and it will help you out. Trust me, I got a couple lineups on Super Draft myself, hoping to nail that $5,000 tonight. That would be good. I was talking to DFS earlier about to the tax man coming into this. So maybe that $5,000 will help me out in that aspect as well too. But yeah, check out Super Draft. Promo code SAL. They help you. They match you all the way up to $500 on your initial deposit. All right, let's get back to the fun. Next fight, we got a banger. This is where I think the card really starts to take off. There's some solid fights on the bottom half of this card, But starting with this one, I feel like it's going to be complete fire. So we got Askar Askarov going up against Joseph Benavidez, 8,300 on Askarov, 7,900 on Benavidez. And I am big on Benavidez here. I think this is a perfectly tailor-made matchup for him. Not to mention the fact that Askar Askarov missed weight by 1 pound yesterday. I usually lump those fighters that miss weight by 1 to 3 pounds as the ones that were truly trying to make the weight, but their body just shut down. So that might have an effect on them in the cage. When you see these guys that are missing by 4, 5, 6 pounds, they're probably just like, I'm not going to go through that strain. So hopefully I can fight better in the fight. And it worked out for Jared Gordon. Didn't work out so much for Ketlin Vera when she missed by 2 pounds. Now with Askarov, misses by 1 pound. He's going to need that cardio. He's going to need that pace to keep up with Benavidez, who's all action all the time pretty much. Continuously moves on the outside, has recently started implementing the calf kick since moving over to Las Vegas, which is something that I love to see. And then he throws absolute heat in his shots nowadays compared to in the past, where he's just trying to get combinations off, look like the busier fighter. He still stays busy, still landing big shots on the feet, knocking out 2 of his last 3 opponents that he's gotten the victory over. But he also mixes in takedowns. I don't think Askarov has the greatest takedown defense. Been taken down by pretty much every opponent that he's fought in the UFC. And Benavidez, we know he has solid takedowns of his own and solid control time too. I don't think that Askarov is going to out-scramble Joseph Benavidez here, even at 36 years old. Benavidez showed in his first fight with Davison Figueiredo that we can see vintage Benavidez unless he fights Davison Figueiredo with that death touch. And I don't think that Askarov has that death touch. I think Benavidez has uncovered pretty much everywhere here, unless his chin has totally fallen off after that Davison Figueiredo fight. But I think that's very narrow-minded to assume that and kind of just write off everything that Benavidez has done to this point. So I do like Benavidez. He was my dog of the night that I gave in the DFS show that I did earlier this week. I think that he could rack up some good points here. And I think ever so slightly that he's live for a KO as well. As we've seen Askarov touched up in the past, I believe this might be the fastest striker that he's fought into this point. But yeah, I like Benavidez here. I think he has a slight advantage, slight chance to get the finish as well. But even if this goes to a decision, he's going to score some good points for us if he's able to get his game going. How do you see this one?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I have a bet on Benavidez myself, and I actually doubled down after watching the weigh-in. So I'm really high on Benavidez. It's just the stylistic matchup. I mean, this is a tailor-made matchup for a guy like Benavidez. Some of the best scrambling we've ever seen. And I'm just not impressed with Askar Askarov in his 3 UFC fights. I thought he lost the Moreno fight. I mean, like you said, he's been taken down in all 3 fights. He got dominated in that 3rd round by Moreno. And it's just hard to see Askar Askarov. I think he can take him down, but he's going to hold him down. I'm leaning towards a big no. So it's just the DraftKings scoring for me. And like you mentioned, Benavidez has opportunity to finish here. We've seen Askarov hurt quite a few times. I think Moreno hurt him in the 1st and 2nd round there. But I don't know. I mean, I think Benavidez, when he does score, whenever he does win, it does score very well. So I do have a decent amount of Benavidez. On the flip side, Askarov, I don't see much control time. I see some takedowns. I think this fight has a lot of potential. I really do. I'm not crazy on it, but I do have a decent amount of ownership. I'll say that.
But definitely more so on the Benavidez side than the Askarov side. Yeah.
Yeah, I like Benavidez quite a bit.
Perfect. All right. Next up, we got Song Yadong versus Kyler Phillips behind the Kai Kara France fight. I'd say this is one of my more least confident sides, but I do like Kyler Phillips here. I like what we've seen from him. At least the improvements that he's been making from the Ultimate Fighter. The guy goes out there in this new karate stance, usually playing the matador, letting his opponent come to him, and then kind of countering off those. Solid black belt to jiu-jitsu as well too, so he might start to seek some takedowns. And obviously training with those MMA lab guys. That's another camp that's going out there and implementing the calf kicks. That could be an advantage for him here to target that calf of Song Yadong, try to take off the explosiveness and the speed that we see from Song, especially that knockout power, because the knockout is definitely live for a Song on the Song side. But Kyler, I feel like if he does win this fight, it's probably going to come via decision. I think Song is very durable. Maybe a submission, who knows, from Kyler's side, but I'd say the decision is more favored here. But I think we could see a solid all-around performance from Kyler here, from takedowns to control time to striking. And then Song Yadong, I feel like he's more striking heavy, right? He wants to move forward, wants to take your head off. And obviously if he wins, it's probably a knockout, and he's going to score big as well. So you're going to want to have a little bit of both guys, at least in my opinion. But in terms of who wins, I actually side on the Kyler Phillips side here ever so slightly. How do you feel this one?
Yeah, I don't hate it, especially Phillips, 7,400. You're getting a big, $1,400 savings off of Song here. But I'm going the other way. I like Song. I'm leaning towards the will stuff to take down. This is a level of competition thing for me. I mean, Kyler Phillips going from Cameron Else, Gabriel Silva, and Song's been fighting guys like Marlon Vera, Cody Stamen. He's been going to close decision with those guys, but Stamen's very tough. He's never been knocked out. Marlon Vera's very tough, impossible to knock that guy out. So Like I'm curious to see if Phillips is going to be able to take those same shots that Marlon Vera was able to take in that third round. Like he was piecing Vera up in that third, hitting him hard. So I'm picking Song here, but I definitely get the scenario where I'm going to be having some Phillips because of how cheap he is. If he does win, like you said, it's going to be takedowns. Could be a submission. I'm just interested to see. We've heard all week about the cardio of Song and how bad it is. I'm curious to see what the cardios of both guys look like going into the third round. I want to see who has the better cardio. That's been a big talking point. But I'm going to take Song for a pick, but really can't complain with Phillips at 7,400. I think it's a really good dog.
For sure. I have heard that Song Yadong cardio issue thing as well. And I was one of the ones like banging that drum as well. But once you really start to watch the fights for Kyler Phillips, he seems like he has a little bit of issues with that cardio too. And how is it going to look going into a high paced fight here against Song Yadong? I truly believe that this will be, this won't be a staring contest that we might see from prior fights. But this fight, I believe we'll see a high action from both sides. And let's see who actually sustains it throughout the 15 minutes, if we go 15 minutes. All right, prelim headliner. First time we ever see Dominic Cruz on the prelims. This is so freaking weird, but we got Dominic Cruz coming in that 8,100 range, same price on Casey Kenny here. I lean Dominic Cruz in terms of his upside for like DraftKings points. I'm not sure how well it will truly translate here. We know his style. Likes to move on the outside, stay away from the big shots, come in with his pot shot every now and then, a couple combinations. He might even throw a takedown on us. I think that's something that a lot of people overlook in his game, but he is a good wrestler himself too, and a good defensive wrestler as well. So I'm not sure how successful Casey Kenny will be in that aspect. If he tries to go for takedowns, he might land takedowns, but is he going to keep him down? I don't think so. I lean Cruz here for the win. If Kenny does start to slow down like he did in that Nathaniel Wood fight, I don't think that's a good look here against Dominic Cruz, who, I don't like to read into the narratives of guys that are like pissed about how they're being perceived in the media, and they want to go out there and make a statement. And, you could maybe put a little bit of that slight narrative here on Dominic Cruz, who, might be feel like he's getting disrespected being placed on the prelims and going out there and wanting to make a statement and get right back into title contention. So maybe we see a late finish for Dominic Cruz here if Casey Kenny starts to slow down. But I do lean Cruz. I do lean him via decision, but I'm not sure how much upside we'll see him in terms of DraftKings side here. How do you see it?
I'll keep this short. I mean, we have 15 fights on this slate. We don't have to play every single fight. This is one of the fights where I don't think it has potential to score well, honestly. Like you mentioned, Cruz is going to stay to the outside. He's very hard to hit, 71% striking defense. I lean with Cruz as well. I have a bet on him, but as far as a DraftKings standpoint, I don't see crazy output from either guy, and even then, like, the significant strikes went from 0.5 to 0.4 now. I can see some takedowns from Cruz, but is he going to get a lot of top control on Kenny, who's a great scrambler? I'm leaning towards no. So I like Cruz here. I just really worry about the upside, and on a 15 fight slate, I think we're going to need at least 100 piece. I think it's very possible to have 6 fighters get 100 plus. So I don't really see that from either guy here.
Yeah, I'm with you right there. All right, before we get into the main card here, again, make sure you guys like and subscribe the video. It's definitely helps us out. It shows my guy Salvecchi some support, shows me some support, and obviously DFS by the numbers as well. Make sure you guys check him out on social media platforms too. And shout out to Super Draft once again. Use promo code SAL. They'll match up your initial deposit up to $500. And again, these pools do not fill up, so you're getting an edge on a lot of people that aren't playing these games. So make sure you guys do that. All right, let's get into the main card here. We got a banger, or perceived banger, between Alexander Rakic and Thiago Santos. I believe it's going to be it could get slowed down with Alexander Rakic looking to tie him up, bring him to the ground, kind of replicate what we saw from Glover Teixeira. But we can obviously say Glover Teixeira is, has much better top control, much better crushing jiu-jitsu than an Alexander Rakic. But we saw from Rakic, if he's able to get fights to the ground, he can have success from the top, land a couple, some strikes, control time, takedowns, and then his kicks, right? Anthony Smith said it himself, the hardest kicks that he's ever fought or went up against inside an MMA cage. And that's saying a lot considering how many fighters Anthony Smith has fought in the past. I like Rakic here. I think he just slows it down, takes it, and gets the takedowns, and controls it that way. So I think he could score in the hundreds here, depending on how many strikes he's able to land as well too. But there is obviously the finishing upside from Thiago Santos. I don't want to just gloss over that. I think if he wins this fight, it could come early, first or second round knockout. But he showed in that Glover Teixeira fight he can sustain his power. Even in the first round, he rocks Glover, rocks him again in the third round after getting grapple fucked for 10 minutes. So yeah, you might want to have some Thiago Santos on your lineups because he could definitely be up there in points. But I think Rakic will be more successful in implementing his game. How do you see this one?
Yeah, I'm with you. I like Rakic. I think he does take this down to the mat, but then again, what happens if he stands and strikes with Santos? And even then, I think Rakic is the better striker. I think he's the more complete fighter. I think he can win that fight on the feet, but that is just playing with absolute fire, and it really only takes one from Thiago Santos. So I have a decent amount of Rakic because, like you mentioned, takedowns are gonna get some points, control time some points, possible finish on the mat as well. So I like Rakic at 8,600. But on the flip side, you can't count out Thiago Santos ever. I mean, he has so much power. It only takes one. So I have a lot of Santos as well. I think Santos is like my second highest owned dog just because if he does win, it's going to be by knockout. So a ton of this fight. Hopefully it does not bust. Hopefully they just don't stare at each other for 15 minutes, but I really don't see it. I think it's going to be fun.
The way that I look at it is like if you see the Rakic and then Smith fight, right? Clearly has Smith debilitated with those calf kicks within the first minute and a half, 2 minutes. And instead of choosing to keep it on the feet and try to knock this guy out, he just continues to go for the takedown, lay in his guard, and just land some shots from there. At this point in time, right? He's cracking the top three. He's just on the doorstep. And why try to mess it up by swinging leather with a guy like Thiago Santos here? But but we'll see. For an entertainment perspective, I hope we get a banger here. But I'm truly thinking that we're going to get a bit of a snooze fest. Yeah, we both like Rakic, so we can go with that. All right, next up, we got Makhachev coming in at 9,400, Drew Dober at 6,800. I love me some Makhachev here. We know he's going to get the takedowns. We know he's going to get top control. I think he's even live for a possible submission here as well. I do have a little bit of a sprinkle on that sub prop around plus 400. Drew Dober, again, most of his losses recently coming via submission. Olivier Aubin-Mercier, Benio Dariush, even though Dariush top level black belt in jiu-jitsu. But given how successful I believe we'll see Islam Makhachev in the grappling exchanges, I feel like the submission will be there. Whether it's arm triangle, rear naked choke, or whatever it is, I feel like we could see a finish here from Makhachev. Even if he doesn't get that finish, though, we know we're getting takedowns. We know we're getting control time. So yeah, you bet your ass he's going to be living up to that 9,400 price tag that we got on him. Are you feeling the same way?
Oh, I love Makhachev here. I think he's going to be takedowns. Dober, 58% takedown defense. Makhachev's a beast, man. I think they're going to take him down. Control time, like you mentioned, possible submission. We've seen Dober submitted, I think, 2 or 3 times in his career. So, yeah, loading up on the Makhachev. And in this 9K range, I like Makhachev a lot. I like somebody else we'll talk about in a little bit. But I think Makhachev is like one of my top 5 highest owned just because of this new DraftKings scoring system and how it does favor the guys that are going to go out there and get the control time, get the takedowns. And what does he do? I mean, that's what he does. So give me Makhachev, all the Makhachev. I get the look on Dober as a punt play. He has the puncher's chance, but I mean, everybody has a puncher's chance. Yeah. So I get it. If he does stand with Makhachev does stand with Dober for longer periods of time, he could knock him out, but I just don't see Makhachev doing that. So give me Makhachev here. I love him a lot.
If it does sound like we're talking a little bit too fast over these matchups, we want to get through all 15 fights so we can start talking to the chat as well too. So I apologize if we're sounding like we're on 1.25 speed or something, but we're trying to get through it so we can start talking to you guys as well. All right, let's get to the first title fight that we got coming up, and probably the fight that I'm most excited about, the one that I'm most split about too. But I like we got Petr Yan here at 8,400, 7,800 on Aljamain Sterling. Now, you know what? I'll let you kick this one off. Let's see where we go with this.
And I'm with you. I'm struggling with this. I think it's a 50-50 fight. I can't get a good read. But I do know one thing. I do know that this fight's going to score a ton of points. Both guys are going to throw a ton of volume. I can see takedowns really on either side. I do see it getting extended into the 4th and maybe even 5th round, possibly even going to a decision. So I think there's going to be so much volume in this fight. And they're priced right in that range at 7,800, 8,400, where if they win, I can easily see the winner getting 100 points just because of the volume of each guy. So what I did, I do have a ton of each. This is my highest owned exposed fight on the whole entire card. I do have more Sterling because of the price. You're getting a $600 difference, and I do think this should be lined like a 8,100 matchup. So more Sterling for me. But overall, I think the winner of this fight scores very well. A lot of people are asking if you can like stack it in GPPs. I wouldn't really do that on a 15-fight slate. But yeah, I think this fight scores well, and the winner should easily probably get 100 points. Or at least.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I lean ever so slightly on the Aljamain Sterling side myself. I've been predicting him to win all week. Possible takedowns, possible control time. Like, imagine if he just gets Yan's back for 1 round. That's 5 minutes or like 4.5 to 4 minutes of control time that you're getting. And I don't want to completely write off Yan's ground game. The guy has a decent ground game, as we saw in the Magomedov's fights. So I don't think it's just going to be a walk in the park for Aljamain Sterling if he gets this fight to the ground. But yeah, I agree with you. I see this going into the 4th and 5th rounds. I see both guys scoring a ton of points. I just lean the Aljo side. I feel like he's just going to be the slightly more active fighter, looking for the takedowns a little bit more than I believe Petr Yan will be. This is one of those fights where like whoever wins could potentially look like a -300. just completely implementing their game. Like maybe Piotr just absolutely stuffs every single takedown, or starts bringing his output up more, which has kind of been his kryptonite. But he's getting by on rocking guys like Jimmy Rivera at the end of their rounds, or then finishing guys like Jose Aldo, who even won a round off of him strictly off of activity. So a very interesting fight. Very much looking forward to it, and easily the one that I'm looking forward to the most tonight. All right, next up, we got Megan Anderson against Amanda Nunes, 9,600 on Amanda Nunes. I think since I started taking DraftKings seriously, this is the highest price tag that I've ever seen on a fighter. But Amanda Nunes, she should go in there. She should take this fight down pretty much immediately and wrap up that submission. I have a hard time seeing this fight go to the second round. I do want to bring up that fact that a lot of people are saying, look at Amanda Nunes' last couple fights. Felicia Spencer, she lasted 5 rounds. Jermaine Durandamy, she lasted 5 rounds. This is Megan freaking Anderson we're talking about, guys. Felicia Spencer actually has a serviceable ground game. Megan Anderson does not. We saw what happens when Felicia Spencer went up against Megan Anderson, and I expect even worse here with Amanda Nunes securing the takedown and either sinking in a choke or getting that ground and pound victory within the first round. So yeah, she's going to be worth that 9,600 in my opinion. I think she's going to be up there, and she'll definitely score more than 100, maybe 120 points or something. But yeah, I like Nunes a lot here. How are you seeing this one?
I'm glad you said it. I'm sick of people saying like Anderson hasn't like a legit chance here. I mean, this is Megan Anderson. I mean, she's not been impressive so far in the UFC. She's low volume, no takedown defense, no ground game. And I'm with you. I think if Nunes takes this fight down to the mat, it's going to take one takedown. I think the fight's going to be over shortly after. So Nunes is by far my highest exposed on DraftKings. I don't care if she's 9,600. I don't care if she was 10,000 because there's so much value on the slate. You can easily get her into your lineups. I'm all over Nunes. I think she finishes it early. And what I also noticed was in every single fight outside of Valentina Shevchenko, she's scoring 100+ points. Megan Anderson is not Valentina Shevchenko at all. So I think Nunes wins. I think she wins in the first round. And I think she scores a ton of points here. So give me Amanda Nunes all day.
Do you even have Anderson on one lineup? Because like if she wins, it's coming by knockout. It'll probably come early, and that might bust a lot of slates, right? Do you even have one lineup out of your 200 lineups that you got in play?
I have 0 Anderson lineup. I mean, this would be the biggest upset in UFC history.
I agree.
I don't know. I have 0.
Yeah, I agree. I was telling somebody else on one of my past streams, if you're looking to bet Anderson here, either take the KO prop because you won't be leaving money on the table there, or somebody brought this up in one of my streams, take round 1 or round 2, which is like plus 2,500 and plus 2,900. So you're not leaving any money on the table from a betting perspective. But yeah, I'm glad we're on the same page here with Nunes, and you're not going to try to convince me that Anderson's going to knock this chick out. All right, let's get to the main event. Israel Adesanya, Jan Blachowicz, another one that I'm having a little bit of trouble with because I believe we could see a slow-paced fight here with both guys kind of just waiting to find and pick their shots. We know Adesanya is very wizardly when it comes to the striking game, and I don't think he wants to overextend himself too much here. First time going up to 205. Blachowicz, not notoriously known to be a knockout artist up into that Luke Rockhold fight, and now he's just bringing this legendary Polish power to the cage and knocking out most of his opponents. But again, I believe it's only 4 or 5 KOs that he has in the UFC, and it's really just coming to fruition now. With Adesanya, again, flawless in his MMA career, 20-0. The only time we've truly seen him in trouble was that Kelvin Gastelum fight, where he's seen him rocked a couple times. That alone is enough to kind of just keep me off of Izzy here. Like, I like Izzy, and he should win this fight. But I see this fight possibly going the full 5 rounds with each guy just kind of just pot shotting and staying on the outside. If there is a finish, I think it would be Adesanya later in the fight, or if it is Blachowicz, it'll probably be earlier. But I just lean Izzy here. I think he just plays a safe game. I don't know if he'll crack the 100-point mark, to be honest, if they keep it as disciplined as I think they will. But I do like Izzy here. That's the side that I lean with. In a 5-round fight, you're going to want to have at least one of these guys, considering the amount of points that they can accrue over that amount of time. But how high-paced and how high action will this fight truly be? How are you seeing this one?
Yeah, I'm taking a stance here. I like Adesanya. I think he's the much better fighter. I'm the biggest Jan Blachowicz hater, but I'm going to be fading. I really am. I'm gonna be fading Izzy here. I think he's going to have some ownership on him. I do see it the same way as you. I think it's going to be slow paced. I think they're going to stay at range for the most part. I don't think that's smart for Blachowicz, but I do think that I see that happening. I mean, like the Yoel Romero fight, kind of slow paced like that. I kind of see it like that. But Adesanya, if he wins, I don't see an early finish. I see no takedowns. I see no control time. I see him outpointing Blachowicz for possibly 25 minutes, maybe a late finish. But even then, like Blachowicz' chin is legit. He's been knocked out one time by Thiago Santos. So, factoring in the ownership of Adesanya, I'm factoring in that I don't think he's going to get takedowns control time. I don't know if he quite hits that 100 mark if he's not getting the finish, and I'm leaning towards he doesn't. On the flip side, Blachowicz, I mean, this is a fight where, like I said, I'm the biggest Blachowicz hater. I did not believe in the Polish power. I mean, he knocked out Luke Rockhold, so what? He knocked out Corey Anderson, so what? But I started to finally believe in the Polish power after the Reyes fight. I mean, it took I think it was like a jab, and it broke Reyes' nose. Those kicks, it looked like somebody shot Reyes. It was insane, man. So I will actually have some Blachowicz, 7,000. I think if he wins, it's going to be because he closes the distance. And I'm interested to see what happens if he does close that distance and gets the takedown. I'm interested to see what he looks like on top, but I'm leaning more towards Adesanya keeping it at distance, staying at range. But there's just the question marks, like what happens if Blachowicz does get him down? So for that reason, I do have some Blachowicz, and the Polish power, I believe in it. I think it's real. But yeah, like you said, as far as a straight pick, you got to go Adesanya. He's the much better fighter. But as we see plenty of times, sometimes the better fighter doesn't always win.
Yeah, I think we dig ourselves into this hole of like training this mystical creature that these fighters turn into. Like Israel Adesanya, yeah, he's undefeated in MMA, but he has gotten knocked out in kickboxing. We've seen like that chink in his armor in the past. Again, not in the MMA sphere, but it's happened before. And like we do it with other fights where we're just like, okay, they just cannot be beaten, and then they get beaten. And tonight might be one of those nights. So I don't hate that Blachowicz side. All right, we've wrapped up the card, so we'll get into the chat here. But the first one that I do want to get into, and I'll go back a little bit to see any other questions that we got. But shout out to my guy Kyle Power here. Any tips for Super Draft and who the captain should be? 1.5 times on Nunez. I think that's nice too. I do have Nunez as captain on most of my lineups in there. Another person that I actually did make a captain is Joseph Benavidez at 2.1 times. I think that's a solid spot. Are you much a Super Draft guy yourself, or are you just strictly DK?
Haven't played it in a while, so couldn't really tell you. But yeah, I agree. Nunez captain it up.
Yeah, for sure. There you go. Perfect. All right, let's see what the rest of this chat is saying here. We got over 165 people in here. If you haven't hit that like already, make sure you guys do so, and then show your boys some support. MMA LOTN on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube's, as well as my guy at DFS_numbers on Twitter, and then DFS by the numbers on YouTube as well too. All right, let's see what the chat is saying tonight. We already got the DraftKings as well too. Do you play the captain mode at all, or are you strictly classic guy?
Don't usually do it. I mean, it's a big card. Maybe I'll sprinkle some into it, but typically no. So I haven't looked into it yet, but I probably will put some lineups in.
Perfect. I haven't really messed with the captain side. The only captain thing that I know is just Super Draft. So I just stay with the classics on DraftKings. Christian Rodriguez is asking Medic, Benavidez, or Brady Phillips. I'll let you kick this one off first, and then I'll let what I know. Which pairing do you prefer?
Yeah, Medic Benavidez for me. I think Medic, if he wins, it's going to be in the first round. I think Benavidez, if he wins, possible knockout. I mean, the guy has power, maybe some takedowns as well, and a lot of output. So I think it's pretty clear for me it's going to be the first one.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Brady, again, I see that one more likely to go to a decision than anything. And if anything, I think that Phillips is the least likely to win out of all of those guys. Even though I'm picking Phillips, I think he might bust your lineup there if he ends up losing. Askarov, Adesanya, Cruz, and Clitoris. I'm not sure who's trying to talk about there. But we'll just skip that one just to be on the safe side. Parker Star, what's your favorite pump play for tonight? What do you got here?
My favorite pump play is going to be probably... I'm going to say Alon Cruz. At 7,300. I mean, Medic is somebody that's not tested. He's not been to the third round. He's not been to decision. I want to see what happens if Alon Cruz gets him down. I want to see what happens if this fight gets extended. So I'm going to take a shot on Cruz here at 7,300. Probably very low owned. And I'm just not sold on Medic as of yet.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Even on the DraftKings show that I did earlier this week on Sal's channel, I gave Alon Cruz my sleeper of the night. I think a lot of people are going to be low on him. So, and he could spring the upside here against Medic, who's just relatively unknown and unproven at this time. Josh Stem is asking Benavidez good play. I think we pretty much nailed that one home. I think we're both on Benavidez pretty high here for sure. Vanilla Coco thinks he's going to get murked. I think you might be surprised. I think a lot of people are putting too much faith into Askarov's hands here and thinking that he has that knockout power. But rocking Tim Elliott is not enough to me to say that he's going to go out there and knock out my guy, Joseph Benavidez. All right, we got is Yan and Sterling in the same lineup viable for a Super Draft GPP? I could see it. Again, I see this going 5 rounds. We're going to get good scoring from either guys here. Again, I'd ask Brady, but he's not too much on that Super Draft side. Do you have any type of lean here, or at least advice to give my guy Sparky Trees?
I will say that I do think it scores well, but it will be enough to win a GPP. I'm leaning towards no, but I will say it's safe.
Perfect. Evan Crawl is asking you specifically, what round does Santos get the KO?
I mean, if he gets, he can get it anywhere round. Like you said, he carries the power into the third round. So really, I mean, I don't know, any round.
Personally, I'm going to say first round, but again, he does have that sustainable power. Evan Crawl once again asking, what round does Elliot get the sub in? I think first or second round. What do you think you got?
Hopefully the first round.
Yeah, for sure. Salvetru's already asked in the chat. I think some people already answered it. What's the go-to food for tonight for the fights? Personally, I'm going with wings. What do you got on the menu?
I wanted some Roadhouse. I wanted some chicken critters, but might be burgers as well. I don't know if I have time to go to Roadhouse and get it.
Yeah, we got just about 15 minutes, or actually half an hour until the fights kick off here. What do we got else in the chat? Apparently, Kyle Davis is having endless mozzarella sticks, and you can't be mad at that.
I'll take
that. Bryce Cunningham giving us some love here. Appreciates you supporting both of us for sure. We definitely appreciate it. Evan Crawl, the cage behind you looks small. Are you nervous that the small cage changes things for Izzy? Yeah, this is the first time we see Adesanya in that small cage. How do you think it has an effect on his game here?
Is it the first time we've seen Izzy in the small cage?
Yeah, so he did fight on the Ultimate Fighter finale against Brad Tavares, but that was one of those weird shows where they had it at T-Mobile instead of Pearl at the Palms as they usually do.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, I was thinking the same thing. Like, you'd think that the small cage is going to favor a guy like Blachowicz, allow him to close the distance a little bit more. So, do I think that am I nervous for the small cage for Izzy? I'd say yeah, I guess, but I'm nervous for this fight in general. I mean, I'm nervous for the Polish power.
Yeah, for sure. It's been coming as of late, and you can't really knock the fact that he's going out there and knocking out a guy like Dominic Cruz, right? That guy's had a solid career thus far, and to knock out a guy in the fashion that he did, and lighting him up in the fashion that he did with those body kicks at first was very, very impressive. So I'm very intrigued to see how he approaches this one. Let's see what we got here. Christy Thornton is asking Sterling or Benavidez. I'm more so on the Benavidez side, as I feel like he's a little bit more secure to get the W, and obviously scoring the hundreds given his his style and the pace and pressure that he brings. How are you seeing this one?
Yeah, like I said about that Sterling Jan fight, I'm 50-50 on it. I'm more so leaning towards the Sterling on that one. As far as a straight pick, I'm probably more confident Benavidez is a straight pick, but for DraftKings, I do have more Sterling. I'll say that.
Next nerd is asking which are the favorites to take the championship out. I'm betting I don't want to lose, but the question that I'm trying to extract from this is how many titles do you actually see changing hands tonight?
I want to say one, maybe one. If Adesanya can get it done. Outside of that, maybe Sterling can get it done. I don't know, but I'm leaning towards one.
I think I'm on two with you here. I'm going to go with Adesanya and Sterling pulling. Well, I guess it's not really an upset. I'm pretty sure the line is still pretty much at a pick 'em right now. But social media wise, I believe people are thinking that Aljo is the dog here. So I'll say that he posed the upset. Evan Crawl believes this fight reaches the 4th and 5th rounds. Jan rolls. Do you believe in that narrative?
I don't. I mean, Sterling, we haven't seen him there yet, but I'm sure he's going to be more than prepared for this fight. Biggest fight of his career. So I don't necessarily see that, but I could see like where Jan, you probably do favor him if it does go to later rounds, but it's just hard to know.
Yeah, again, we haven't seen Sterling in those 4th and 5th rounds in the past, right? And a lot of people want to put stock into that Pedro Munoz fight where it looks like he's slowing down a little bit. But with Pedro Munoz, you're getting a guy that's ever pressuring you, throwing shots out there, hitting you to the body, calf kicks, all that type of stuff. Whereas Jan, I feel like he just waits for his opportunities, and that might be enough time for Sterling to really catch his breath and sustain his cardio over 25 minutes. Bryce Cunningham, can someone tell me what hitting value means for a fighter priced at 8,000? I'll let you take this one. What do you got?
Yeah, so say a fighter's 8,000. I mean, usually you'll want that 10x. So if a fighter gets 80, I guess it's hitting value. But on a slate like this on 15 fights, for somebody to hit value, if you're at 8,000, you're probably going to need 100 points. I mean, I really think that an optimal lineup for this week's card on a 15-fight slate, I think you're going to need 6 fighters that are going to hit that 100-point mark or at least very close to it. I mean, we saw last week the scores were very low, but the week before that, the highest scores I've ever seen in my life. So I do think we're going to need some high scores here. And for a guy to hit, say 8,000, he's going to probably need for this card like 100 points.
Yeah, again, 15 fights. I'm absolutely in agreement with you that they need at least 100 points to get the dub. and be on the optimal lineup. Eric is asking Amanda Lemos or Tim Elliott. I know Brady is definitely going to be on Tim Elliott because he's already shown us his hand that he's heavy on Tim Elliott here. I like Lemos. I feel like she might be a little bit more live to get that finish later in this fight, but Tim Elliott is just so high output, high pressure, and very live for a submission himself too. So I'll go with Lemos. I know Brady's going to go with Tim. Do you have anything to add to this, or am I right on the money there?
Yeah, I will say that Lemos is probably going to be like a fraction of the ownership of Elliott. So I do think she'd be lower owned, but yeah, I'm more on the Elliott side.
Salvetri himself is saying his own projection has Nunez at 62%, and he personally has her at 84% right now. So, yeah, I could see that. She should be one of the more higher owned, as long as people aren't reading too far into that Megan Anderson narrative here. Just trying to catch up with the chat here, find some good questions. Hopefully nothing that we've actually touched on already. Bryce Cunningham, he said he's on Sterling, but it's a tall order against Yan. Yeah, I'm not running to the betting window to bet against Yan here, even though I'm picking Sterling, but it should be very, very close fight for sure. Shoeproof is saying Lemos has an 88% finish rate. Any chance she finishes here? I personally believe so. I think she can finish this late. Do you believe she has as much finishing chances as I do, or am I overblowing this?
I mean, in person, I think it may be overblowing it just a little bit, but I get it. Yeah. I get it. I think Souza has never been finished, but it definitely can happen. I mean, like you said, right there, Lemos is a finisher, 88% finish rate. I think it's possible. I'm personally more so leaning towards a decision, but I wouldn't be shocked if she knocked her out in the slightest.
Kyle Davis is asking Yan and Makhachev or Rakic and Izzy. For me, I'd have to go Rakic. Oh man, fuck, it's tough. Because if Yan wins, it's 5 rounds. He's probably going to score in the hundreds with his with striking and all that taken into consideration, and a possible finish. Whereas Rakic and Izzy, I feel more comfortable with. Like I feel like you can lean on them more in terms of believing that they'll get the victory. I'm more comfortable in saying that pair is more likely to get a victory than Yan and Makhachev. Now Makhachev will probably score the most out of all of these guys, but it all depends on Yan. Then in that fight, I see more 50-50. How are you feeling about this?
Yeah, I'm more with you. I'm with you as in the fact that if I think Izzy and Rakic have a really good chance of winning, I'm a little split on the Yan, but I think if the Yan-Makhachev combo wins, I think it's going to score a ton of points. So I'd probably take a shot on that one.
Mm-hmm. Bryce Cunningham, probably the best questions in the chat right now. So shout out Bryce Cunningham. Is Elliott going to be over-owned? I have him in my lineup right now, but find it concerning. Yeah, I personally think he's going to be over-owned as well too. I believe Brady's in the same line I'm thinking.
Yeah, he'll have some decent ownership.
All right. Any takes on Pure Yan? We've already pretty much gone through that. MD is saying for some reason he's not feeling confident in Sean Brady today, though I still added him to my parlay, and Pure Yan will murder Aljo tonight. I'm telling you, casuals. Ooh, this guy has a strong stance on a fight that a lot of people see very, very close. Yeah, I know you're super confident in Sean Brady here as well, right?
Yeah, I like Brady a lot. I just think he's better everywhere. I mean, I don't see where Matthews beats him here. And like you said, outside of the experience, outside of maybe the size, I guess he looked bigger at weigh-ins, but Brady, the volume, the cardio, the takedowns, the ground game, I think it's better everywhere.
Jeremiah Scott is asking if we think Brady is going to be optimal. Personally, I think he's one of the lesser guys that has the chance of getting a finish here compared to the other 14 fights that we have on the slate. I feel like those guys are more likely to get a finish than Brady. So he might not be optimal. How do you see this one?
I hope not, because I don't have much of him at all. I want him to win, but I don't want him to go out there and absolutely destroy Matthews from pillar to post. I do think he scores well. I think he's safe. I just don't know if he has the same upside as Amanda Nunez or a Makhachev, so I can't really get to him.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I think he's live for a sub, but I feel like the decision is more likely here for him. Benavidez and Askarov in the same lineup. I'm assuming for a tournament play. I don't think that's the best way to go here. Yeah, again, 15-fight card. We're definitely going to get some higher scores from, if you pick from other matchups. How do you feel about this?
Yeah, I wouldn't do that. Even like we were talking about stacking the Yan Sterling fight, it's a little bit iffy with those 15 fights. I think you're going to need big scores from each, and if you're getting that loss, it's really hard to get there.
Sparkly Trees is saying Phillips or Cruz for dog. I think Cruz is more likely to win, but I think Phillips has more upside in terms of DraftKings scoring here. I know Brady doesn't really have much of the Cruz fight on any of his lineups here, but how do you feel about this from a dog perspective?
Do you think it's talking about Elon Cruz or Dominic?
Ooh, good point. Sparkly Trees, if you're still in the chat, please do clarify for us regarding that. Let's see, Salvetri is saying here, do we think one fighter from each star fighter is likely to be in the optimal lineup? Debating on setting some rules for that. Personally, I think Nunez should score high. the winner of Jan Sterling will more than likely score high. But then the main event, right? That one's a little bit iffy because I feel it's a little bit more low volume. How do you feel about this question?
Yeah, I'm with you. I think there's a great chance that, first of all, Nunez ends up on the optimal. I think there's a great chance that Jan Sterling winner ends up on the optimal. But same with you. I'm split on the main event. I don't really see it getting on the optimal there unless Blachowicz goes in there and finishes Adesanya early. I don't really see Adesanya finishing Blachowicz early or even finishing him at all, really.
Swoosh Jack is saying we actually have all the fights. Yes, we do.
Crazy.
All 15 fights so far. Knock on wood. If you guys are around wood, please knock on it because we need these 15 fights to stick through. And I highly doubt Brady wants to go through all of his 150, 200 lineups to switch them up, a couple minutes before lock here.
I've done it more than once before.
So
it sucks.
I'm sure during this COVID time, it's just been absolutely stressful for you.
Oh, big time. I mean, yeah, so many lineups you got to change within I remember fights were getting canceled the day of the card. So yeah, it's tough.
Crash and Burn is saying it's cool watching a live stream with both the guys responsible for all the DK money I've ever won. We appreciate your support as well too. I'm sure Brady will echo that sentiment. Aaron Hicks, which 4 fighters do we think score over 100 points? Just off the top of your head, who do you got?
Amanda Nunez, the Jan Sterling winner, Makhachev, and then the Cruz. Those 3, and then the Rocket Santos winner. I'm leaning towards over 100.
I got Nunez, Makhachev. Let me just run through this. I think Rakic, especially with his control time and his takedowns. And then I think Benavidez has high upside to potentially score more than 100 points here with, control time, takedowns, and significant strikes. I feel like he'll be successful in holding Askarov down if that's what he chooses to do here. So those are, hopefully that just brings a little bit of variety for you guys as well. Yes, just like Skylar Wise letting you guys know, give a like and subscribe. It truly helps you guys out here. And we're going to hopefully keep doing these pre-lock shows on a regular basis. I want to bring back my guy, Brady, on more of a regular basis as well, too. All right, we got about 3 minutes left before I want to get out of here. Let's just see what we got. Best cheap play. I think we both agreed that Alan Cruz is probably the best cheap play here. Is there anybody else that sticks out to you?
Yeah, Cruz. I think Santos is not a bad cheap play, and then I'll have a little bit of Blachowicz as well.
Sparkly Tree is confirming that he meant to say Alan Cruz instead of Dominic Cruz. So let me just pull it up. Once again, he asked Alan Cruz or Kyler Phillips. Again, I'm still a little bit more on the Alan Cruz side than I'm on Kyler Phillips. What about you?
Yeah, I guess I'd say Phillips probably has a better chance to win, but I think I don't know, I'm going to say Cruz. I'm more so on the Cruz side myself, but Phillips is not a bad play. Both guys are really good players. That's a tough question.
Sal Vetri saying that there's possibly a UFC event in Texas, and it might be a spot for the Sal Vetri Media Summit. You bet your boy would want to be down there. So get that plane ticket ready. Get that passport ready. We're getting down there. Demetrio is saying that he's all over Adesanya here. I completely agree with him there. Lucas Bell, Hail Mary of the night. Let's see. I'm guessing by Hail Mary, you want to go at the bottom of the slate here. Megan Anderson, right? If she wins, it's a knockout. Or you know what? I would rather trust Drew Dober in this spot here. I mean, I feel like Drew Dober is much more live to get a knockout than Megan Anderson. How about you?
Yeah, I'll go Jan for my Hail Mary of the night.
There you go. Last one here. Santos Islam or Elliott and Medic. I'd rather go Santos Islam, though I do believe that Santos is the least likely to win out of those 4. How are you feeling about that?
It's a tough one.
Because the points on Santos Islam, if they both win, are going to be ridiculous compared to Elliott Medic, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's about the same for me. I mean, if I had to take, I'd go Santos as well, but it's really, really close just because I like Makhachev quite a bit. All
right, last question we'll take here. No love for Trevin Jones from Brady? Is that true?
No, I mean, I have a little bit of Trevin Jones. I actually have more Trevin Jones than Batista, believe it or not. So I think if he wins, it's going to be by a finish. Do I think it happens? I hope not, because I have Batista in a parlay. But if he does win, I think it's by a finish.
I'm right there with you. I think Bautista wins this one as well. All right. I can't believe we actually got through an hour of this thing. That flew by this quick, man. That's what happens when we got me and Brady on the same stream. Hopefully we get to do a little bit more often, not just for DFS stuff, but just from a betting perspective, all in all. But we do want to send a shout out to everybody that's been in the chat today. Very helpful. Hopefully we're going to help you guys make some money tonight on DraftKings, betting-wise, whatever it is. Shout out to Sal, as always, Sal Vetri, for bringing us on the channel to do the dirty work for the MMA stuff. We more than love doing it anyway. You guys can follow me at MMALOTN on Twitter, MMALOT on Instagram, as well as on YouTube. Brady, I'll let them know where they can find you and how they can find your work.
Yep, you can follow me on Twitter, DFS_numbers. YouTube is DFS by the numbers. Just want to say thank you, Locke, and thank you, Sal, for having me on. Very fun show. I cannot believe we just got through 15 fights, answered some questions, all in an hour. But we talk fast. I mean, you talk fast, I talk fast. We did it. So, yeah, looking forward to this card. Good luck, everybody in the chat. Good luck to you, Locke. Good luck to you, Sal. And I'm ready to win some money tonight.
Hell yeah. Once again, shout out to our sponsor as well, Super Draft. Use promo code SAL, $500. They'll match you up on your initial deposit. And again, those pools do not fill up. So you're already getting a leg up on the competition by even just putting in a lineup. Even if you put Megan Anderson into a lineup, you're probably scoring more points than some other people that don't put any lineups in. So make sure you guys check out Super Draft. Good luck on your bets tonight. Good luck on your DraftKings lineups tonight. And I look forward to seeing you guys throughout the week. Next week, the UFC show rolls on. We got, I believe, 4 or 5 more weeks straight of UFC events. So the content will not stop from myself, from Sal, and obviously from Brady as well, too. Shout out to everybody that joined us. Good luck tonight. And we'll see you guys next week.
See you.